wildflowers is personal, a truthful and divine piece of my soul that I'm willing to show. Wildflowers, no matter what I do, they continue to blossom my life. Wildflower thoughts will continue to flourish in my mind. What are wildflowers really? Triumphs achieved, unexplainable experiences, mistakes that scar you for life, flashbacks that make you cry. I believe thoughts that refuse to get lost in your brain are also wildflowers that should be written and forever framed. Like a genuine piece of art, a masterpiece of the soul created with your heart. Wildflowers can be photographic memories I express through words, leaving you no choice but to imagine the emotions I feel without a picture or a voice. Wildflowers are challenges you can and cannot win, sacred moments that will never be forgotten, rude awakenings that will forever blur your vision, happiness and depression. That's what wildflowers is.
I love it.
Okay, so thanks for having me, Linda. This is awesome. We definitely go back to like 2018 when I first started curating. So everybody knows me as JLOVE. I first started out documenting street art, and I had my own WordPress on. I had my own blog on WordPress in 2017, and I started like blogging about spirituality and like creative ambiance and art and all kinds of things that have to do with visual art. And after that, I started putting my pictures up on Instagram, and different graffiti writers were like tagging themselves on the photos and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I want to start interviewing these people. I want to know what's behind the graffiti, because I fell in love with it at the age of 6. You know, I'm from Spanish Harlem, and my dad had brought me to the Graffiti Hall of Fame. And I was like 6 years old and just mesmerized by all the colors and all the different shapes. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So growing up in that environment in the 80s and seeing all the graffiti, I just fell in love with street art and graph. And then when I was working in Soho, that's when I really dipped into taking the photos. And it just organically became this thing. Like I started this wild movement. I wanted to just have everybody be able to express their artistic, you know, creative ways, regardless of where they're come from, what's their background, their race, no matter their color, shape, or size, you know, just be free. And no matter your religion, none of that, you know, that's what being wild was to me. Like, that's what I started my movement. And I had my first art show at the Lazy Susan Gallery. Yeah. And it was really cool. I had some big names in there.
What year was that?
That was like 2018, I believe. 2018. And then I've always loved poetry, so I wanted to mix like poetry and street art together. So I would like print my poetry on frames, and I had printed my poetry on canvas, and I put that in the gallery. And I met a lot of people, did a lot of networking, and then that's how I met you. I met so many people, and like being part of it was really hard at first. Like a lot of women weren't inviting, and it was all like male dominated and everything, but like the more I got into it, you know, the better it became. You know? I can't even remember. I know it was Image Gallery. And then she was like, yeah, she was like, you have to meet this woman, you have to come to this other show that's going to happen here. And I was like, oh, this sounds cool. Art and Hustle. Like, I was like super excited.
That's
super excited.
That's so cool
to meet you, because you were already like so advanced, and you had all your merch, and you're such an artist and do so many different things with fashion and art, and like it's just amazing.
Yeah, and that was just like a passion project of mine that I just randomly like was like, you know what, I did my first art show. I found like a little like small little like pop-up gallery thing in Gowanus, Brooklyn, did that, met all these great people. And the same thing with you. Like I wanted a safe space where people can come and show whatever type of art you're doing. If it's spoken word, if it's poetry, if it's like, you know, live model painting, or it's canvas art, whatever medium they were using, I had no like discernment of like, you know, turning people away. If you wanted to be a part of it, you were part of it. There was like race was not an issue. What kind of medium you used was not an issue. Like I was doing the same thing where I was like, I was accepting of everybody, and I just wanted, you know, love and light to be like at events. So what did you do before? And were you always into this? Like, how do you make your money? Do you continue doing your art, or you have like another?
I used to work a lot. I mean, I've been working since I was 14 years old. I was a teen mom, so I had to do that. And then I worked in the beauty industry for more than 15 years, you know, as a guest relations specialist I worked for one salon in Park Avenue for like 8 years. I
Mhm.
worked for Diva Curl for like 5 years, and then I was an independent contractor for them where I was like a curl coach. Um, and I would train the women at Sephora how to use the product and sell it and then help upsell there. So I had like 7 stores in Manhattan, and I used to get paid like $300 per store. I used to make my own schedule. It
Mhm.
was fun being an independent contractor. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
I got like laid off, and then was like on unemployment. And at the time I had already moved from New York to New Jersey, and I was living there for 5 years. And then I decided to just not renew my lease for the apartment. My kids, like my son wanted to go live with his dad. He was not doing too good in school. So I let that, you know, I let him go at 14. And
Mhm.
my daughter at the time, she was, you know, with her girlfriend and was already like 18 and wanted to move out. So I
Yeah.
said, you know what, for the first time ever, I put everything in storage and decided to come back to New York and live with my sister.
Mhm.
And then after that, I just said to myself, I don't want to work for anybody anymore.
Yeah. But what year was that?
I lived off savings, and I have a very supportive family.
Yeah.
And I kind of got used to making my own schedule and being an independent contractor. And when that fell through after doing that for so long and only working like 7 days out of a month
Yeah.
and still, you know, I just didn't want to like do that anymore. Took
Yeah.
a break to like really focus on me. I took a mental break. I had to, you know, like stay away from people and not isolate, but just really take care of me on Instagram. And
Mhm.
then one time I said to myself, I wanted to hang out, and it was like late, and my niece had took over the living room
Yeah.
at my sister's. And it was like this struggling artist time for me. It was like rediscovering who I am, what was Wildflowers about. I had this book that I had written when I was 16. I was looking for somebody to publish it. People were letting me down. I gave my manuscript away to someone, and they promised they were going to help me publish it. And at that time, it was like the only copy that I had.
Mhm.
It, it, and they didn't do anything with it, though. I got very depressed and I lost contact with the person. And then I didn't have my manuscript for years.
Really?
I didn't know that I had it in an email. Yeah, I didn't know that there was like this old email account that kept saying it was full. I was trying to clean it out, and I stumbled upon my 2 manuscripts. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was later on. But before that, with the depression and everything,
Mhm.
I had to like get a therapist, psychiatrist. It was like not good with my anxiety and stuff. So then I started getting, and the art became very therapeutic. It became
Mm.
an outlet
Mhm.
where, even though I'm not like, I don't draw and I don't paint, I've always doodled and I've always wanted to draw flowers, and I love graffiti. So I remember the first time somebody put a can in my hand, they were like, you should try it, you should do it. I'm like, no, I just take photos of you guys. I just, you know, and they're like, you got to do it. So once I got into it, and then I started dating a graffiti writer,
Mhm.
we started going bombing together, and I got more into it. And
Yeah.
he was one of the followers that hit me up on DM, was like, hey, you want to hang out, when I was like put it up on my story.
Yeah.
And then I found out that he was like renting a room. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm looking for a place. And I had never rented a room before in my life. I've always had my own apartment since I was 19.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And all my stuff was in storage. I was living with my sister. I was just being free. I had just
Yeah.
got out of a very serious relationship that was very hurtful.
Yeah.
So someone that I was engaged to had broke my heart and cheated on me with his ex-wife.
Oh my God.
You know, dealing with that and putting everything in storage and starting again in New York after living 5 years in New Jersey, but still working in the city.
Mhm.
Like, it was just a lot. So being able to like start fresh, I said, you know what, I'll rent the room, da da da. And we were friends, and we definitely dated for like a year, and then it became really serious in
Mhm.
2019. So
And
I've
you're
been with
still
him
with
ever
him?
since. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
but
that's
so but
awesome.
now I don't rent a room from him anymore. Yeah, I don't rent the room from him anymore. Probably his room, but I have the whole living room. He was nice enough to let me live here with my cat,
So
with my cat
that's
and
awesome.
my
So you
stuff
rented the room and then you never left.
for a little while. For
Yeah.
like, yeah, for like a yeah. And then after we decided to become serious, there was no point of renting the room anymore. It was just crazy how, and then he's part of like this really, you know, well-known graffiti crew. And it's just crazy, like the story, how you fall in love with graph, you meet a graffiti writer, you fall in love with him, and then just like he opened up this whole other creative side to me that my father says is not good because it's illegal. But I love what they do, you know, and I respect it. And every graph writer has a different story to tell. It's so crazy. They come from all different walks of life,
Yeah.
and really interesting. So
That's super cool. So what do you think helped you? What are some things that helped you get out of like that mental, you know, because mental health is so important.
you gotta, the first step to mental health is admitting that you do have an issue, and don't, it's bad, the stigma, I know it's hard, but and that's the first step, is just saying, damn, I think something is not right, and maybe I really should make some steps to get help. And that's like the hardest thing
Yeah.
you have to do. Fortunately, a lot of people just don't want to admit it, and they go through life self-medicating and not getting the proper treatment. So that was the first step, was having actual, and I'm actually blessed to have a good support system with family, with my parents, with my aunts, you know, cousins, my sister, you name it. Like I always have a good solid rock of a family. So
Yeah,
but
that's super
and being
important.
with someone, and also, you know, having support from the boyfriend, having, you know, that was helpful. But the treatment, so admitting that you have this issue that really needs to be attended to, and getting the proper treatment that works for you and what you can afford. You know, people have issues with health insurance. So, you know, that was the first step. I got the proper health insurance. I wasn't, you know, working anymore. You had to get help from the government. So I
Yeah.
got United Healthcare. Went to my doctors. Doctors were saying, from the anxiety and the depression, how do you feel? You get evaluated. And I honestly couldn't deal with authority anymore. I couldn't deal with getting up and going to work anymore. It was just issue after issue, where and also smoking pot or partying back in the days, or drinking. But I never had like an alcohol problem,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a lot of weed, and people don't realize, but weed can also cause anxiety and give you paranoia and deep thoughts and racing thoughts and stuff like that. So after I got my treatment and I continued with that, and the doctors were like, so would, you know, the next step from here would be to go for SSI. Since you've been working since you were 14, you probably have a lot of money coming to you, and try that step.
What's S
So
for Social Security?
Social Security, yeah.
Like
Like all,
disability
yeah,
or?
like a disability, yeah. So basically, I'm disabled to work because of my anxiety and my depression. So I've got my meds, I got my therapy, I get my check every month. I was given a lump sum of a lot of money, because all that money
Really?
they take out of your check, yeah. What they do is they take a percentage, but all
Yeah.
that money that they've been taking out of your check, you get some of that when you're deemed
Really?
like, yeah, I got $15,000 plus a $3,000 retroactive.
Wow.
People don't realize, as a woman, as a mother and a provider,
Yeah.
and if you don't have that male figure in the home to help, if you don't have him to help as a provider and help raise the kids, it becomes such a burden on top of an
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
just an everyday lifestyle. So
Yeah.
just being yourself and just taking care of yourself, and then taking care of your kids and your career, all that really can be a lot. Not everybody is, I always say, not everybody's as strong-minded. There are people who are raised differently. There are people who are just really, their whole setup and mechanism is just so different.
Yeah.
Everybody is so different, and people don't take the time to understand that about individuality when it comes to everybody's spirit, aura, mental presence, physical presence, all that. You have to take that into account. Like everybody's so different. People can be so
No,
mean. And when
that's
you're depressed,
yeah.
and you feel that fog and you feel like you have nobody, you think you could get over it. Oh yeah, you get over it for a little while. But if you see that it's really a problem, there's help out there.
Yeah.
It's just about getting that help that works for you, really going in depth and discussing with doctors what you need, because the things that I take, yeah, it doesn't make me drowsy. Then you got to go in depth of conversation about how the medication makes you feel. You got to talk to your doctor and get the right medications so that you don't become dependent on anything. It's a lot. It changes your metabolism. Some people, their hair fall out, they gain weight. There's so many side effects. So you really have to You have to find what works for you. So thank God I've found what works for me, and I'm able to, I see a call. Oh my God, this is so funny. I'm talking about therapy and my therapist is calling me.
Go ahead, answer. Go ahead.
You know, the universe is crazy. Okay. So anyways, what was I saying before I got interrupted? Oh yeah, talking about the therapy and the treatment, right? That's what I was talking about. Are different. My case had gotten a little severe when I had a nervous breakdown, and this was before COVID.
Yeah.
And so right before COVID, I had a nervous breakdown. And once I was in the hospital for a week, you know, from the nervous breakdown, where you have this anxiety attack, where I thought that I was getting a heart attack. You literally feel chest palpitations that are, you think you're gonna die, these anxiety attacks. So yeah, it was bad. And then the depression, you could go like so down, like so dark, like not even want to get out of bed, and not even eat, and you know, stuff like that. And then at times it would go away. You would think it would go away. So once I saw, you know, everything that I've been through in my life had finally, like, I hit like a boom, and that's when I got the nervous anxiety, nervous breakdown. And then 2020, I just got accepted to, I've worked my whole life. I've taken care of my kids and worked my whole life. At one point I had 2-3 jobs, and the welfare had told me, well, you'll pay all your rent. I said, well, that's fine. Of course, nobody wants to be on welfare the whole life. So I paid all my rent for years. I've always had my own apartment. But of course I did get help with food stamps, you know. And then the kids get grown. Once those kids are grown, to get off the system eventually. It's not everybody can do it, because we're living in a time, and we always have, they don't make it easy for us minorities, you know. Unfortunately, some of us are really struggling. So, but some of us can get off welfare, and thank God that we can, and we make it through. But don't forget that there's also different steps in life. Like, I used to be ashamed, but I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed to live off the money that they took out of my check, every check, all those years.
Your
That's my
money.
money.
That's your money.
Out of the essence. You see it in your pay stub. Like, I try to explain to my son, my son, I said, don't forget that I'm 41 now, but all that money that they took, that's my money.
Yeah.
I worked.
Yeah, I totally
My first
agree.
job, I lived in Massachusetts for 10 years. I was 14. I went to the Social Security place, and they punch in your Social Security number. They have all that on record. Like, my very first job when I lived in Massachusetts, when I was 14, all of those jobs that I had, they all come out. She's like, oh, you've been working for a long time. You know, she goes, you're still young. You probably could have kept on, but if, you know, if the doctors say that this is your situation, then, you know, and you have your proper paperwork, it'll help your case. And that's what happened. They look up all that. And that's true. That's my money.
Yeah.
You know?
That's amazing.
It's not, it's a fixed income. It goes up, it goes up every January because the cost of living goes up. So
yeah. So it's basically like if you were
and then
to retire.
I do my side hustle. I feel like I retired early. This is the joke I make with my girlfriends.
But that's what I mean. Like, I've literally been telling everybody that, listen, I'm done. I'm retired. I'm 47. So like, I feel like I'm done. I'm retired.
Like, you look amazing.
At 47. I'm going to be 50 soon.
Okay, what do you use? And it's your genes. It's your nationality. You're just so beautiful.
It's just got to be the Asian genes. I do nothing. It's the Zoom filter.
And I don't even think you need a ton.
This is just Zoom filter.
Well, listen, Linda, you look amazing.
Thank you.
Wow, but you still look good for 47. Okay.
47.
Forget
47.
That. But yeah, if that's how you feel, I mean, therapy. So I'm like, I'm that person who always calls, and I'm like I'm on hold waiting. You know, that's me. I'll wait the 20 minutes. Oh God.
I'm all about online. I'm like, I'd rather find out online.
Right. And I'm the opposite. But the thing is, oh, and then, so then you find all this time, right? You have all this time on your hands because you're not working. And then what really hit me too, why I really got a little depressed years ago, was I didn't have any kids to tend to, come home to help them and, you know, put them to bed after work, cook for them, homework, whatever. I felt so alone because I didn't have my apartment. I was living with my sister. My kids were grown and out of my house. You know, what was I supposed to do? I didn't feel needed. It was just weird. I had all this extra time. I didn't have my job. It was just awkward. And then that's when you have to really utilize your alone time and embrace your solace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, try, and that's really where I started focusing really heavy on my spirituality, my childhood, doing a lot of shadow work, and all that. And then I found, you know, different outlets, because my girlfriend was like, girl, okay, so you do arts and crafts, or you do this and that with the jars. Why don't you sell it? Like, she was like, why don't you do that? Or why don't you try to publish your book? And people always, my family always encouraging, you know, oh, try and this and that. And it's easier said than done when you're somebody that's struggling, right, with mental issues and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it done, and I got into it, and it helped me.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me 100%.
Yeah.
If I always say I always say that all of us have something creative inside, something wild and creative inside. It could be the weirdest thing. It could be creative to me and not creative to you. But if you have that in you, whatever it is, photography, it could even be something online, graphic design or whatever, art, anything with art,
Mm-hmm.
it's a creative, therapeutic outlet. Utilize it.
Yeah.
And that's what helped me through 100%.
Yeah. And that's like one of the questions that I ask people, like, how did art save you?
Journaling, writing, doing collages about everything, you know, and studying and getting to know more about my illness.
Yeah. How did you start your book? And was this book already done and you just published it? What is it about?
This
And
book is
congratulations
my
to
first.
publishing your book.
Thank you. JLOVE Wildflowers. My very first book. It's just a compilation of poetry and memoirs that I had started when I was 16 years old. I was in GD class in Massachusetts. Here's a picture of me in the Bronx when I was young. I was like 16 here. I was a teen mom, you know, wondering what's my purpose in life, and using my I don't know how to say it, but my emotions, right? But with like affirmations of the flowers, excuse me, because listen to this. I was in GD class at this place, and they would give us like an hour break for lunch. So we used to go to like the restaurants and get something to eat, and then go to like these little 99-cent stores and discount stores. And I found a journal that had it was like a painting of all these flowers, and they were splattered different colors. And I wanted to use that somehow. It just gave me an idea. And it just became like I was using the flowers as my emotions. It's hard to explain, but I call flowers personal, a truthful and divine piece of my soul that I'm willing to show. Wildflowers, no matter what I do, they continue to blossom my life. Wildflower thoughts will continue to flourish in my mind. What are wildflowers really? Triumphs achieved, unexplainable experiences, mistakes that scar you for life, flashbacks that make you cry. I believe thoughts that refuse to get lost in your brain are also wildflowers that should be written and forever framed. Like a genuine piece of art, a masterpiece of the soul created with your heart. Wildflowers can be photographic memories I express through words, leaving you no choice but to imagine the emotions I feel without a picture or a voice. Wildflowers are challenges you can and cannot win, sacred moments that will never be forgotten, rude awakenings that will forever blur your vision, happiness and depression. That's what Wildflowers is. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so this teacher, you know, she was like, you're 16 and you wrote this stuff? She's like, where does this come from? I'm like, I have no idea. So she used to let me stay after class, and I had this on a floppy disk for years. To one day I didn't type it up. I paid someone to help me type it up. I typed most of it, then she typed it. That didn't work out. I wanted it the original way. Like I wanted my poetry and my thoughts to be, I didn't want this person that I first had work on it. She wanted to edit everything. And I just wanted it to be raw and real and wild. What it was. Then I finally, many years later, I would say 2012 or maybe 2016, it's between that time, because I know my son was really young. My youngest was really young. And I was working in a hair salon, and I met this young woman, said, Joni, I will type the thing up for you. We look over it together and we'll work on it together. And we did, and it was great. I left it as it was. And then I tried to get someone to publish it, and it fell through. And then years later, just recently, I had found it in my email and I was like, oh my God. And I found out through a friend, my girlfriend Nadia, she said, you can do free publishing on Amazon
Yeah.
with KDP Publishing with Amazon.com.
Mm.
I said, really? She said, you just have to edit it, type it up, get it, email it, upload it to them, and they'll help you pick your photo for cover art, or they'll give you cover art and you do it from there. And it was a simple, it's step by step. They walk you through it and it's super simple.
That's
If
awesome.
if I could do it,
Yeah.
anybody could. I was able to publish out copies and sell them on my own, like at pop-ups and stuff. But yeah, I've sold like at least over 100 books.
That's great. I mean, that's awesome. You
It's
followed,
not, yeah, it's
followed
not
your
much.
vision. Hmm.
Yeah, but it feels like such an accomplishment
Yeah.
where also it's something that had to be released, that it had to be done. Like I wasn't going to rest in peace until somebody else was able to read what
Yeah.
I was feeling at that time, at being that age. And and they're just simple things like, you know, it's not like a best-selling author type thing.
But it's
It's just
yours. It
really,
was your creative outlet.
yeah,
Great.
yeah, and it's raw. It's my emotions, my memoirs,
Yeah.
my thoughts.
Yeah.
It's
No,
not
that's
made up.
amazing.
Yeah,
It's your form of
yeah,
art.
it's real. Yeah, it's real. It's not made up. So those are the things that helped me through, I have to say, is arts and crafts, graffiti, being creative, curating, throwing art shows. I was blessed to be put down with QVC, Queen Vandals Collective. Shout out to Ruby, my girl. She's amazing. She started that in 2019. She put me down in 2020.
Mhm.
She was definitely somebody that I looked up to in the graph game, like doing her thing. And she's very vulnerable with her mental issues and her whatever she's going through in life. She like puts it out there with her poetry, and it's just like so inspiring that it kind of helped push me. And even though I didn't think or consider myself as an artist, she was like, Jay, you're an artist in your own way. And she was like, I would love for you to be down with QVC. And then we took it from there. I mean, we even threw our very first Queen Vandals Collective art show on September 2nd,
Mhm.
Aphrodisiac, erotica art show, really amazing. We had the belly dancer, the DJ, hip hop dancers, and it's a crew, a collective of all female and non-binary LGBTQ,
Mhm.
fighting for the rights, keeping up the good fight. That's what it's about. And I love her message. I love the crew. And that helped me a lot too, being part of something. It's
Mhm.
always nice to be part of something. And
Yeah,
it was
community.
nice to, yeah, to have that community.
Mhm.
Yeah, I never thought that I would get back into shows. I took a break. I mean, I threw about like 3 or 4 shows. I had my Sassy Saturdays, Flashy Fridays. I did open mics. I did art shows.
Yeah.
Wild Mary Jane. My Wild Mary Jane. I did in 420. I think in 2018. That was at Image Gallery,
Yeah.
where it was like the lead show. And you know what? I took a break because it was a lot, and people just weren't supportive. I realized I was boasting and helping and promoting a lot of people, and it wouldn't reciprocate. And you don't do things to get that in return. I did it genuinely out of love.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there comes a time where you sit back and you're like, wow, you start to evaluate who values me as much as I value them, even though that's not really what it's about. Because
But
I
still, you
really,
need like reciprocal energy. Like if you're not getting
yeah,
reciprocal energy, it becomes one-sided and it's not fun after that.
yeah, it doesn't feel good at the end of the day, and it catches up to you. Even if I till this day, like people are like, oh, it's crazy. Like with Instagram these days, you have like 1,000, 2,000 followers, you only get 10 likes. Instagram to me is my therapeutic outlet. I put up there what I like. I don't care who likes it or not,
Yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
You can't take that crap seriously. And I tell people it's my page, like it's JLOVE Wild Entertainment. It's entertainment for a reason. Like I don't put my personal, I'm not that type. A lot of the stuff that I'm sharing here today, I have never shared online.
Yeah.
So I don't tell people my real personal life. There's a time and a place for everything. Everybody's Instagram is different,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
So yeah,
I find that,
I totally appreciate you sharing, all of these stories. And this is what I love about the platform, because I feel like every story will help and every story will heal. And if we share more of ourselves authentically, that will help somebody. Somebody will see this and be like, oh, you know, like she went through these things, and how does she get through it?
Yeah, so take that break when you have to take a break and you know it's necessary, and if you can do it, you know, not everybody can just take a break from their life. They have different things going on. But I was able to actually take a break and focus on just me. And there was a time I even left Instagram for like almost a year. Then
Yeah.
there was a time that my original Instagram page that I worked so hard on, I had like 4,000 followers. It may not be much, but all that footage and work that I put in there, photography and photo shoots and shows, all of that got hacked. And then I got pissed and I got depressed and my account got hacked. I was like, oh my God. It was crazy because I reached out to someone to say happy holidays on Instagram, not knowing that my girlfriend, her account was hacked. So she hit me up. She's like, hey, how you doing? Happy holidays. Yeah. So then I was like, oh, she starts saying, well, can I have your phone number? Let's chat.
Oh
She was like, let's
no.
chat.
Hmm.
So I thought it was really her, and I gave her my phone number. I don't know how, but with just my phone number, they hacked me
Oh
and locked
my
me out of my account,
God.
unable to get it. And it caused me, it was like it was like, oh my God, I felt that not that my world was revolved around Instagram, but my work that I put in there meant something to me. And I actually have that about me where you could see, as if you could see, I love to collect things. It's part of my spirituality, obviously, but I collect things. I have things that have sentimental value and I hold them very dear to my heart. So that work meant something to me. And
Yeah.
as everybody's stuff should, you know, like, I mean, everybody's different, but it actually got me depressed. And then friends were like, don't let that do that to you. Like, you can start over, like, it'll be okay. So then I was like, screw it, I'm going to start over. And then my friend was like, maybe you should start over and come out of the broom closet. I said, what? I said, you mean tell everybody that I'm a brujita? She's like, yeah, why don't you make your new account about who you really are?
Yeah.
She's like, you know, put that out there. And then when I started doing the jars, my other friend was like, why don't you just do a separate account for that? I'm like, I have so many accounts. You know what? I like it like that because I'm organized. To me, I like it. Some people, it's very overwhelming for them. They're like, JLOVE, you have so many. I say, yeah, but I have one is my private, one is my small business, and the other one is my curating and my entertainment, you
Yeah.
know, my wild movement stuff. And they're like, you're too much. But I do what works for me. And I
Yeah.
think that's oh, I hate to say, I think, no, I love to say it. I love to say that that's what makes me stand out. I'm authentic. Like, I don't change who I am. Some people say I'm corny, I'm too giggly, or my voice is annoying. I don't care. I enjoy being me. And I don't think that and I think for a long time I used to try to change who I was when I was young and stuff like that. But once you really how you say, once you really embrace who you are and you're not afraid to show that, it changes completely your day every day. I
Yeah.
feel like
Because you're just
I wake
sitting.
up happy
Yeah.
every day,
You're sitting in your
regardless.
truth. Hmm.
Yeah, regardless if I'm having a bad day, I always try to find a silver lining. I know it sounds really cliche, but you always have to try to find that positive thing. And it's crazy because not everybody can do that.
Yeah, once you sit in your truth, then you're going to be more happy and more peaceful, because you don't have to hide who you are. You don't have to hide, like, you know, the jars that you like to do or whatever spirituality that you like to follow. I mean, that's you, and the right people will show up. The ones that support you, the right ones will show up.
You're right. You're right. And then some people, I actually lost, you know, a friend, not behind all, but just from all the like being miserable all the time. I think that she was always miserable and she was going through so much anger and stuff in her life. And even if I tried to console her, it would go nowhere. So I had to like cut ties because I felt bad that I was feeling guilty for my own happiness or my own achievements. I also didn't feel, some people weren't supportive. I had people in my life who told me, oh, you'll never publish your poetry.
Oh, that's terrible.
So
That's not a friend.
yeah, so and my mom always told me when I was young, she's like, there's going to be a time when you get older and you're really going to understand that it's not about always having a friend. They're not there. It's important. It's healthy. It's good to have those sisters in your life, that sisterhood and everything. But remember, you really have to take care of yourself and put yourself first
Mhm.
and your children first. And I
Yeah.
used to be, I made a lot of mistakes. And then, like, focusing now, I don't regret. I just look at it as this is how it's been. This is how God wanted it. This is where the universe has put me. This is where it's led me. I am the woman I am today because of all that.
Yeah.
And thank God that I'm able to say that and be able to deal with that, because unfortunately we can get stuck.
Yeah, that's amazing advice, because if you do all of that, then you're in a more peaceful state and you can be happier that way and less stressed out.
Yeah. It's hard to trust people too, and to let people in when you go through all those changes, when we're
Mhm.
having all these emotions and depression, and you start to feel like, I don't even know if that person's my friend, or maybe I'm not good enough for so and so, or this job, I'm not good enough for this job, or maybe my kids think I'm a certain way. Those are the thoughts. Those are the things that you're probably thinking sometimes.
Mm.
I remember we were scheduled to do this, and you needed to take time.
Yeah.
And that is amazing when you're able to say, I need to take time and do this, because some people throw themselves into things, and
Yeah.
that's even more
Yeah.
uh
I've been
it's
in this
strenuous.
state for a while now. Like ever since COVID happened and then they let me go from my job, ever since then, I've been trying to figure out like me. Like I've been working on me and this whole process of trying to find more peace and like going back into like my childhood. Like I've told stories about, the traumas that I went through and the abuse that I went through. And that was also something part of me that I had to let out, because I felt like if I told my story, maybe that'll help somebody else. And I just had to get it out. Like I couldn't hold on to that story anymore because it was eating me up alive and it was making me sick. So ever since I've let that out, now I'm just trying to find more peace in my day to day, because like that's out. But like now I have to find another purpose to my passion now. So like my pain has become my passion, and this podcast has become like my passion, because I feel like I want to talk to everyday giants among us who's gone through things, and like you can tell your story and it helps somebody else be able to get through whatever they're getting through.